Hey, welcome to Real Talk, episode 104. I'm Todd, this is AJ, and we're back.
Boop, boop, doo. Here we are.
Yeah.
Got him.
So, that's a weird thing you said.
I know.
Hey, welcome to Real Talk, guys. You know the drill by now. At this point, we're just a couple of guys up to no good trying to get trouble started in your neighborhood. Just kidding. Fresh Prince. Get it?
No good. Starting in your neighborhood.
Trouble in my neighborhood. Started making trouble. Anyway, Real Talk's an opportunity to talk about life, God, the Bible, and everything in between. Hope it inspires you guys to have those kind of conversations too with your friends, family, whatever.
Nice.
We started this series being willing to answer tough questions about faith. And, man, we've answered almost 2,000 questions, which is insanity. That being said, we'd love to have more, guys. We're running low. So if you have a question, a real question, a question about God, the Bible. I know there's things in the Bible that people get confused about. Feel free to send that in using the link that's somewhere in the description of this video and whatever platform you're using at www.theremnant.life/real-talk. Click it, go down to submit a question. You know the deal. And if you, whatever question or topic you type in, when you hit submit, it goes into our database completely anonymous. Can't find you if we tried.
Because we have.
So, guys, listen, we are in a bit of a pickle.
It's true.
We went to start this show today and ended up in a conversation for about an hour.
Maybe even more. It was a long conversation.
Yeah, with me, you, Fun Turn, and then our old other pastor buddy that is at this church, Austin, almost called him AJ, that's your name, walked in. And so we got into a deep talk, man. There were tears.
Yes, there
There were
was.
tears flowing. There were passion. So a lot of things. And AJ made a point. He goes, man, and it's funny because I was thinking this before you said it. He said, you ever think about when you have conversations like that, you're kind of drained, you don't know where to go from here? It's another one of those examples when the best thing that could have happened would have been if Clint had just pushed record. And we edited some out because it would have been very raw, but it would have bbeen real.
Yeah, it's true,
So
man.
that's kind of where we're at. And we don't really know what to do right now.
With that, yeah.
I mean, if the topic that it kind of went to overall, it's frigid in here for once. So you see me rub my arms. That's what's going on. Is the idea of what faith really is, man, and what life is, and dying to self, and how I was sharing with the guys, their big brother by a year. I'm just kidding. One of the things that I've realized over the years is the key, truly, and I mean this, the key to really living a joyful life, I think, is found in some of the words of Jesus when he says, that those who want to save their life will lose it, but those who lose their life for my sake will gain it.
Amen.
And it's this idea of dying to your desires. And we don't necessarily have to go in there, but we guess that really is what's on our mind. And the comment I made to the guys, and I guess I'll say it to you guys. If I were to give you one bit of advice for your life, this is for Christians that have already accepted. If you're not a Christian, then I would tell you to think about this a different way, but it's the same thought. We have to come to a place as Christians when we accept that life isn't going to always happen on our terms, and we let that die. Mm-hmm. We let the idea of what our life is supposed to be die. So we let our expectation of marriage, I got a bad marriage and it makes me depressed, die, because it's not about that. And in that death of the dreams that we thought we had that were the only thing that were going to bring us life, there comes a peace, because then we are free to accept what Christ has offered, what Christ is offering, right, about life and his way.
Yeah.
And it frees us to love people in a different way. And it frees us to do that without expectation. And I don't know, just that sound that clearly there was a lot more to that, but that was sort of the topic. Mm-hmm. And I mean that for me personally in my faith, that has been crucial to my life, is the understanding that there's going to be times when I have to just literally let go of my crazy human desire to hold on to what I want life to be. You know what I mean?
So good, man. I know that the conversation we had was just so convicting, and it's funny, dude, because I shouldn't say hate, but I really don't like how the culture of church has shaped words to not mean anything anymore. Sure. And I also don't like the fact that I've also contributed to that myself. But when I say that I was convicted, I mean that. It shook me. you talk about people being asleep, right? You know, people, and what we mean by that is people just being in the, you know, we've talked about before, like people just kind of in the matrix, right? Like they say they are a Christian, but they don't, their life doesn't show it, and they don't seem to have any desire to even change that, but they say they're a Christian. It's weird. You're asleep. You don't even realize what you're doing. And I think that was me, man, for a long time. And I was telling you earlier that when I first became saved, man, it was different, and I had the desire to die to myself. I remember. Like, I literally remember going, you had a sermon called Costs, I'm pretty sure. And I remember hearing what you were saying and what Jesus said about dying to yourself. And I was like, man, like, I felt the weight of that, but it was desired, though. Like, I remember going, man, I want to die to myself so I can honor him. And I think that I've gotten so wrapped up in responsibility or just anything that I've just forgotten that entirely. I don't like, I guess I'll use this, it's not backslide, but it's more like I feel like I've kind of reverted. I've reverted back to that old man, that person that I used to be, and just, I don't know, man, just a lot of selfishness and a lot of, I don't know, man, just not truly caring enough to even withhold what I say I believe, you know, just, well, I guess, yeah, I don't know if withhold's a good word for it. I guess walk out what I believe. And I don't know, man, it was just so convicting, and like,
so we've had these thoughts lately about our show. We've talked about it last week. No one gave us really any input, which is cool. We love you guys. About, man, you know, views have gone down. Reactions gone down. Now, a lot of people, some of it's podcasts. You know, like if you're listening on podcasts, we love you guys. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
But my point in bringing this up is not to be all mopey, but it's to say this. I think, you know, we talked about topic. It was funny. Funturn and I were kind of talking about what we can do. And so I guess today, taking this whole topic, I'm going to talk to you guys that are listening and view this a little different. I want to talk to you about the state of your life. And this goes with this. So if you're listening right now, I want you to ask yourself, are you content? Do you feel like you're alive? And do you feel joy? Would you say you feel joy even 50% of your life? Now, if you're a Christian and you're listening and you say that you don't, in fact, if you're not a Christian, but especially Christian, because we'll start with what you say you believe. It goes back to what you said.
Yeah.
And you don't, you can honestly say that the answer is no to that stuff. Kind of mess with you a little bit. So then what is it? Did God lie to you? Is the Bible trustworthy? So I'm going to give you an example. We have a lot of people that got married in our church in the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to be convicting. I don't mean to be, or I hope it doesn't, but let me ask you a question. If you were a guy, didn't know these people, and you were basing what marriage looks like based on the quality of those marriages that you're seeing, if, like, say you were looking at these from the outside and how happy they seemed, would you ever want to get married?
No.
And what we mean is, man, what we've noticed is, in general, this using the topic of marriage is kind of symbolism for a lot of things. So let's look at marriage. I can't, you know, so many times people's happiness is contingent on the state of their marriage, their joy. And, you know, one of the things that I kind of mean about dying to self is I really believe you have got to stop putting the weight of the quality of your life on another human being.
Yes.
Whether it's your husband, whether it's your children, whether it's your... if you do that, it is going to fail you. If you put the quality of your life on whether or not you accomplish X, Y, Z, right? It's going to fail you. And so when Jesus says die to self, guys, that you need to face this reality that you need to accept that the death of this is going to sound crazy at first, the death of your dreams, the death of what you wanted for your life, the death of the picture that you thought you had, and the death of all that. Because, you know, Jesus said those who want to save their lives will lose it, but those who lose their life for my sake will gain it. Now, there's a lot to that, and certainly it doesn't just mean this, but you have got to, I feel like a lot of Christians, they say that they're surrendered. They say that they believe. They say that they're following, but that's not true. They're only half following. They don't want to look. They don't want to face Jesus' words at face value. They don't want to. They like that's a hard verse. AJ, die to yourself and your own dreams and desires. Now, oh, that's mopey and depressing. That's because you still don't get it. It's not that God. It's not even that those dreams are bad. It's not even that they're not good. It's not. It's that you have to understand that this is kind of deep. That you're clinging to your view of what life was supposed to be, is supposed to be, whatever,
instead of God.
Bingo. Instead of God, and it's going to prevent you from fully following Him. So and I said this to you guys earlier. It's going to sound kind of grotesque, but in the corpse of your life, in the corpse of you literally letting that go, letting it go, letting go of clinging to what you thought was going to bring you life, letting go to your ways, letting go to your constant complaints, letting go of, oh, if only my husband were this way or my wife was this way, letting go of those things. In the corpse of that will come life, because then you are free to follow God, not to become happy, but because that's the only way to really have life.
Oh, man.
You see what I'm saying? And guys, this is personal experience. I found this to myself. You know, you guys ask me some good questions. You know, how do you do it? You've got to come to this place in your faith where you're willing to wrestle with those ideas and deal with Jesus' words and either do it or don't. Right. Then you understand that every day I got to pick my cross up and follow Him. You've got to be willing to stop putting yourself at the center of your existence. Right? And that's why, so stay with me, right? So then think about the reasons you don't we don't do what the Bible tells us to do. So like love others or be patient. If you really think about it, it's because we don't want to. I don't have to. I am tired. I am this. You've constantly putting yourself in your life, quotation marks, what you think life is at the center of your existence instead of God. And I'm telling you, in the surrender and in the death of that, it's not depression. There is freedom, right? There is freedom to truly be who you were meant to be, because now you can love without expectation. Now you can, you love without expecting a return. You're able to serve people. You know, you're able to overcome those moments when you don't want to, because you're not making everything in life about you and what you want.
Gosh, man, that is the key, man.
It is.
Oh, my gosh, that is the key.
And nobody wants to admit that. See, listen, if you're listening today, a lot of this is hard. This is about what I'm saying is about to be hard. And it's hard for me to hear, too. A lot of your depression is based on your own selfishness.
It's true.
In the sense of, not all of it, guys. I'm not talking chemically.
Yeah.
But like if you're is because think about it. I bet you if you're honest, there's some sort of desire that you're not getting. At least I've faced it with myself. And the truth is you're throwing a temper tantrum about it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get my cookie, I'm going to be mad and sad all the time.
I love cookies.
Me too. But
it's true.
Imagine if I threw a fit every time I didn't get one.
Yep.
And I feel like people are like, oh, that's depressing. No, it isn't. It's freeing, because any life that we create for ourselves is ultimately going to be empty. Man. Right? So like, for instance, marriage is beautiful, right? The Bible says that.
Yes.
Love your wife as Christ loves the church. Wives, submit to Christ, or submit to your husband as to Christ. This is a beautiful mystery. I'm talking about Christ in the church. It's a way to show the world Christ in the church, right? It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But it's only beautiful. It's not meant to fully fulfill you all the time. And so for some reason, people tend to, I think a lot of the problems in marriages is an understanding where it's about, I'm not getting what I want versus am I being what they need? Well, who's going to take care of me then? This is where the faith in God comes in. That God says, well, I don't want to do that because my husband or wife doesn't give me this, and that's not fair. It's not fair. Life in this world, in this broken world, is not fair. But that doesn't mean that God can't bring goodness and beauty out of that. Man. And so, for instance, since we're on the topic of marriages, you know, the biggest thing I try to get couples to see when I'm counseling them or talking to them a lot of times is, it's easier said than done, is what I hear all the time is, well, he isn't doing this, Okay, why are you acting like he isn't doing this? Why are you acting like she isn't doing this? If she would, if he would.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Then doing what God told you to do is whether you admit it or not, is actually contingent on the other person earning that behavior.
Right.
So I will love them when they earn it.
Man.
When that's not what Jesus talks about, right? We are literally to die to self. Everything about this is going to be deep, man, but becoming a Christian is a lot about death before life. When we're baptized and going in that water, that's the symbolism of the death of our old self.
Yes.
And it is, Paul says, it's not me who's living, but Christ who's living in me and through me. And I'm telling you guys, true peace, joy, and freedom comes in accepting that. Because then I'm able to go, and there's a supernatural spiritual fulfillment that comes when we're living out of who we really are supposed to be in Him. I don't know if this is making sense. Certainly it was coming out probably more clearly in our previous conversation because you're sort of, but today I want to talk to you guys about that. So many of you, sit down today and write about what makes you sad and think about how much of it you can control. Okay. Now think about what God has asked you to do and think about how much of it you can control. Get what I'm saying? The only thing you can truly control is what you choose to do.
Yep.
You can't control all those outside factors. And I think that's what God's trying to get us to understand. Hey, I know this stuff's broken. I know there's hurt and there's pain, there's trials and tribulations, but don't worry, I've overcome the world. You just focus on being who I've called you to be as I continue to enable you, equip you, and transform you into that person. And I will take care of you in the midst of that. It won't always look like what we want, but what we want isn't always good.
No.
He's trying to free us even from our self-conceived notions of what real life is. I don't know if any of that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have those notions are created by us. And like you said, it's not always good. It's not the truth.
Yeah.
That's what we try to live by.
And even good things, like I want to be married. Mm-hmm. That's great, right?
Yeah.
But what if you go to it for life, it ends up becoming this selfish, ugly thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you go to things for life, it's going to lead to death. That's the truth.
Preach, except for Christ. You're
exactly.
Right. You're right.
And I don't know, man. I
right?
think you said, like I said, I said earlier, that's the key. And it's so true, man. You said it. You hit the nail on the head. You have to wrestle with these thoughts. I think, I was just thinking about my own walk, and I think that's what I used to do. I used to take these thoughts and not just put them on a shelf and go, there, oh, that was nice, and put it over here. I actually thought about it and wrestled with it, like you said. And I think I got into this mindset of going, that was a really good conversation. I love that.
No, that's it. Move on.
Yep, that was it, though. There would be no follow-up in my mind. There'd be nothing with it. And that's why, and it's so easy for us to slip into that mindset. And no wonder... I can't, no wonder I wasn't being who I was supposed to be, and I guess it's just been such a huge realization. Like I have to wrestle these thoughts, and because it's crazy because when you start doing stuff that you're called to do and what God says is good for you, this stuff naturally comes. It's like you said, it's the fruit of the Spirit against the works of the flesh.
Yeah.
You have to work hard to put that away.
It's true, man. It's true.
And
Christian, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think what you're saying is we're seeing that in our church culture is we're seeing a bunch of fake smiles on Sundays followed by constant depression on Mondays and sadness and anger and frustration. And I really think there's a big crucial thing missing, from the Christian faith. And that is, and I'm guilty of this at times, but the times that I don't do it or when I find real life is like we have got to quit being so spoiled and understand that what our Father has called us to do is real life.
Yes.
So I can sit here, and this is going to kind of a kooky analogy, but it's true. I can sit here all I want and say, I want to be a fish and I'm going to breathe water, but if I breathe water, I'm going to drown, right? As a human, I'm not going to live.
Right.
And God is trying to say, no, you don't need to be a fish. I've made you to be who you are, and you're going to live and breathe air. And there has to be a death to, well, I want to be a fish. Right? That sounds ridiculous. And it goes the same way. So I want to have a good marriage, and I want my husband to always be perfect and come home and be romantic, but also wild and be passionate but also stable, and be responsible but also fun. And I want my wife to be hot and also modest. And I want her to be sexy and also demure. And I want her to be supportive but also independent, because I don't want to deal with all of it. But how ridiculous does that sound? No human can be that. Versus,
gosh, man, that's so good.
I get the beautiful opportunity to show the love of Christ and live it out and be shaped by this relationship.
Man.
Right? I'm going to love my spouse even when they don't deserve it, because many times they don't by human standards. But guess what? You don't deserve God's love.
Truth.
Based on your own worth.
Yes.
And so, using marriage is a big one, man. I cannot tell you, some of you out there who are struggling in your marriages, if you really think about it, I'm going to ask you, are you doing what God told you to do? Mm. Are you loving? Well, I keep trying, and I've heard this. The more I try, the more he doesn't like me. Okay. So what? Mm-hmm. For you. Now, clearly, that doesn't mean if he's a believer, we'll get to that. Yeah. But you can't change that. You can't make him do that. You can't make her respect you. And your call to love her is independent of that.
That's right. The race doesn't end because you got a flat tire.
Yes.
You gotta patch it up and keep going.
So that sounds crazy. And then, okay, let's go on. So I don't tell anyone about my marriage problem. So I don't admit that I'm sad. I don't ask for blah, blah, or if I do, it's just a constant complaining fest with no action. We talked about this a few weeks ago. Listen, the Christian walk is not about having real talk and no action. It's about having real talk that leads to real action.
Yes. So good.
And a lot of you out there, man, you've accepted the first step. So I'm going to be real about my marriage and admit that I don't like it. Okay, and then people tell you what to do, and you don't like that advice, so you don't follow it because you want there to be a different way. You want there to be a way where you don't have to respect your husband when he's not respectable. Mm-hmm. You want to find a way that you can not have to love your wife when she's not being lovable. It's insanity, man. In all of us. Now, we just use marriage. It could be anything else.
Absolutely.
I hate my job. Okay. There is something about perspective. You hate your job. So what? Are you still going to go to work tomorrow? If you are, you need to accept that, release it, and think to yourself, as the Bible says, the Great Commission is as you go should be translated, right? As you go, make disciples of all nations. Are you being Christ to people you meet? Or are you only doing it when you feel like it? What if we actually lived out what he said? So many times we say, well, this being a Christian sucks and it's miserable and God doesn't do what he said. And I'm like, okay, did you do what he told you to do before you can't complain if you didn't.
Dude, you're right, though. You can't.
Right? He's like, hey, do this and I will fulfill you. And then we don't do it. And then we say, why aren't you fulfilling me?
Yep.
Gosh, I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. I don't know, man. I'm hit with so much conviction right now. It's insane. Please, if you're listening, please take this serious because this is so good. And we often take this as just Christianese, or that's another thing. I feel like we've, remnant church. I feel like we've taken Christianese and applied it to real truth, so then we don't have to hear real truth and go, that's just Christianese.
Yeah, it's almost like we use it to mean if something's Christianese, then it isn't true ever.
Yes.
And that's not the whole point of even the term Christianese.
Yeah. I think that
Christianese is actually meaning we need to remember that these things are true.
That's right. Yeah, if you're listening and you hear this, take it serious. This is all real. And if you say you believe in Jesus Christ and you believe that you're a Christian, why would you not want to do these things? And I have to ask myself that because I'm with you. I'm telling you right now, it's out of my own conviction. I'm telling you right now that if I believe in this, why have I went against everything that he's told me to do?
I'll tell you exactly why and why they do it, because you don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. We have wrapped so much of our Christian faith in our feelings. Yes. So if I feel like spreading the gospel, I'll do it. If I feel like loving someone,
joyfully, because I feel like it.
Yeah, if I feel like being joyful, then I'll be joyful. If I feel like being loving, I'll be loving. If I feel like being patient, I'll be patient. And if not, well, I need to take care of me. Yep. Some of us need to grow up. You need to spiritually grow up. And we got to realize that goes back to die to self. It's not about your feelings. You know, that is what children do. The difference between children and adults are little kids do what they feel. And as adults are supposed to do what they're supposed to do despite how they feel. And just like a father teaches a child, because that's what you're teaching children, right? You're teaching them how to function in society and that their impulses are not what they should do all the time.
Yep, that's good.
No, you can't hit your brother with this truck even though you're frustrated. But yet we practice that as adults. Well, I'm going to tear into my friend because I'm frustrated. And then you need to grow up. And some of you out there, and we're talking to ourselves, but this is a different kind of real talk today. It's a challenge. You need to grow up and stop thinking that the Christian faith is about God giving you what you want, when you want it, and when you feel like having it. Because the truth is, much of the faith is about going against your natural desires, which in and of themselves are often evil, right?
That's
in
so
my
true.
flesh, and doing what he told us to do. So, well, I don't feel like being loving today. I don't feel like serving my husband today. I'm sorry. If you're ready for blunt truth, who cares what you feel like? What did Jesus tell you to do? I don't feel like loving my wife today. I don't feel like talking to my wife today. I don't feel like, what did Jesus tell you to do? I don't feel like answering the phone and talking to that guy or my friend who's struggling. What did Jesus tell you to do? I don't feel like sharing my burdens with other people. I don't feel like confessing my sin. We are being spoiled children when we only do what we're supposed to do when we feel like doing it.
So good.
So
Mic drop.
I'm telling you guys, in obedience, there is freedom.
Yes.
Not slavery. And it all ties back to what the Bible says, right? It says, listen, you are slaves to something, either slaves to sin, right? Or slaves to righteousness, to God, which means, what it means by that is, listen, you're going to follow something. Are you going to follow your flesh, which leads to death and sin? Or are you going to follow the spirit that's in you?
Gosh. And to think that people think that happiness that they feel when they choose to do things only when they feel like doing it is that's the hope. They think that. And
that's why it's so depressing, because it isn't there always.
Exactly. Or you feel it for a second and it's gone. It's gone and you're empty and you wonder why you feel this way. You know? It's so eye-opening, man.
And it's a very personal thing. Like, some of you out there are like, that's why it's so hard to have these conversations sometimes on Real Talk, because we don't have someone there. Yeah. So some of you out there, you know, this is between you and God. You can lie to us and say you're trying.
Yeah, it's
true.
You
can lie to yourself and say, oh, I'm doing it. And it's, you know, God's just not being fair and life's not fair because I am doing what he told me to do. Are you?
Are you really? Right.
And, you know, there are people out there that, you know, again, I feel like we have to do this addendum because I don't ever want that one person who's literally having a chemical imbalance problem, right? Struggling. And they think that it's if they just try harder. Because that's the other thing. It's not about trying harder. It's about trying it all. Right? It's about saying, I'm going to follow you. And
that's right.
Grace is...
That's so good, man.
Is him allowing us... Grace is for the moments when we try and fail. Grace is not an excuse not to try. Right? Not to live it out. And guys, I go back to it. It's even in that. It's not loving people because it makes God love us. It's not. It's literally just dying to myself, and in doing that, I am free to love recklessly, to love boldly, to live a life that's free of the anxieties of trying to be the God of my own life and to be the supplier of all my needs, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Does that make sense? So I guess, you know, Fun Term brought this up, and it's true. You know, we haven't had as much interaction with our videos lately, and guys, a lot of that, you know, it's on us. You probably think we haven't responded, but we love to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Are you happy? Are you joyful? Was God lying when he told you in Galatians that the fruit of the Spirit is joy, peace, patience, love, kindness, gentleness, self-control? Is that a lie? Did he lie, or are we somehow not releasing control? And because we're holding so tight to our way, we are stifling the growth of the fruit that naturally comes from the Spirit.
That's right, man. That's another good thing to bring up that you said. Like, if you think that God's the problem, you're not getting it. You're not getting it.
Yeah.
He's a perfect, all-knowing, he's all good, you know, all good. This is God we're talking about. You know, this is If you say you're a Christian and you believe that God's the reason why your life is bad, then you need to reevaluate who you are and what you believe, because that's not the truth. You need to take a look in the mirror, because that's what I have to do. That's what he has to do. That's what you have to do. That's what everyone has to do.
Go into a room, go into your car, go, I don't care, and let yourself think about these things and ask God to reveal it to you. You know, and it may sound like we're being really depressing. It's not. What I'm saying is, what's depressing is trying to think that your way is the best way. That's depressing.
That is depressing.
And what I'm trying to tell you is dying to self and accepting what Jesus said and letting those words like, life's rough and life's dark sometimes and it's hard and you're going to have trials and tribulations, but take heart. I've overcome the world. I'm going to keep my promises. I will not leave you as orphans. I will equip you to do all the things I'm asking you to do. When you let go of the illusion of control, there is true peace and freedom. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So much of our anxiety and our misery comes from trying to keep up the illusion that somehow everything's dependent on us.
That's so good, man.
If going back to marriage, because it's a good picture. Imagine if you literally released the happiness and joy in your life, you release your spouse from being the one to provide that to you. Wouldn't marriage be different? Like, I don't go to them to be made happy. I go to them to love them and serve them and to have fun with them.
And that's so crazy, because people think they do that and they don't.
No.
They think they're going at it with like love, but your definition of love is wrong.
Because you're actually doing it to get
something.
Yes,
that's right. You were expecting love. You do something in expectation of getting something out of it. It's going to make you feel good, and that's not Jesus.
It's not, man. Now, when you feel good from doing those things, that's just a byproduct of that action.
That's right.
But that's not the reason to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You do it because you love God. That's why.
Yeah. Animals are kind, right? When they get something they want.
Cats.
Right? Yeah, for real, right? Like, everyone is, that's what Jesus said too about, I've called you to love your enemies. Everybody loves the people that love them. That's easy. A true disciple, imagine loving somebody who isn't loving you well. That's what Jesus did to us. Look at his life. That man got mocked. He told people truth and was called a liar, false prophet, son of the devil. He was beat, spit on, dared. I dare you to save yourself. Oh, you can't. Ha ha. And he sat there and continued to love us all the way to the cross.
That's right.
When at any moment he could have said, I ain't doing that. You want to be like Jesus? You want to say you're like him? Then be like Jesus.
Yeah. In the midst of all of it, saying, Father, forgive them.
They know not what they do. Yeah, man. Well, Todd, that's hard. Yep, it is hard.
That's right.
That goes back to dying to self. It's that hard. But God also said that he is going to, that he has sealed within us through the Holy Spirit the ability to do all good things. I will equip you to do all those good things. I will equip you. Right? It's in us. So if it's not happening, we're choosing, and Paul talks about this. This is convicting to me as a believer. When I do those things that aren't, as hard as it is, when I do those things that aren't indicative of who I am in Christ, right? Of what it's evil or hate or all these things, I am choosing to do it.
Yes.
I am choosing yours. Yes, because 100%. I'm not a slave to it.
Nope, not a slave.
And that's saved
from that. And that's insane.
So guys, I'm telling you, take it from me, your friend, your random voice on a podcast, and I dare you to take this dare. For the next week, first off, take some time today and wrestle with that with God. You know, what areas in your life are you holding on to? Even if you think they're good things, right? A lot of good things we end up still trying to make life. Like marriage is a good thing. How many things are you putting the weight of your joy on when it does not have the ability to provide it? And are you willing to let go of it, to die to that? Not because you're saying life is miserable, but because you're realizing that true peace, joy comes in understanding who your Father is and that he will provide your needs. And that his way is the best way. And when you let go, there are like the days that I focus and do that, man, there is such a relief. And I encourage you guys to deal with Jesus' words, like he mentioned earlier. We talked about quit running from him, quit running from those hard verses, and wrestle with them.
Stop putting on the shelf.
And the next week, I encourage you to live it out. To if you're having a rough time, so it's in your marriage is struggling, you don't like to go home, you don't like seeing your spouse. You don't want to go to work. Whatever thing it is, you don't want to serve at church. You don't want to do X, Y, Z. How about for 1 week, just do it and ask God to show himself in that and see if your life does not have more meaning. I'm depressed. I'm this. Okay, live your life for 1 week almost like it's a job, because it might be, right? That's part of dying to self. You do it anyway, and see if at the end of that week there isn't some fruit in your life that wasn't there before.
There will be.
There absolutely will be. And that death to self can look different. You know, there's people that do a lot of the things really good, but you also have pride. Or you always have to be the teacher. Or you always have to be, you know, whatever. Yep. God's constantly trying to grow us into the likeness of Jesus.
That's right.
And anything that doesn't fit that mold, we got to get rid of. Right? It's not the other way around. The standard's not going to change because I don't like it or don't do it well. I got to change.
Reminds me of the chisel. And that was such a cool video you guys played. Made me cry. I remember it was a long time ago. You guys played during a
it's the skit
service.
Guys. You can look that up.
Yeah, the skit guys. They did this. I think they called it like God's original masterpiece or something like that. And man, just the guy, you know, it's God chiseling away at all of his junk that he has, and it's just beautiful. You know, it's accepting. Man, it's crazy because we just so often don't even want to accept the junk for it to be chiseled off, man. It's such a key thing. Like you said, wrestling with, like you said, taking this challenge and looking at those things in your life and going, man, yep, I have all these things. And then being willing to, like you said, let them go. Man, let them go. Focus on God. You know, it's real, you know, and it's continuously being proven over and over again in my life. And I'm sure it's being proven over and over again in your life that if you are a Christian out there and you're listening to this, and you continue to just ignore these things, not wrestle with these thoughts. Where are you at? You're not in a good place. Guarantee it. You're not following. You're not loving people. Your self-worth is probably in the dumpster.
That's so good,
like
man.
It's all this gray, twisted, sad life. That's what it is.
And that's not what life in Christ should be.
No. It's supposed to be full of color, full of life.
Because how else can you explain how the New Testament believers and even people nowadays, in situations you can't even fathom, third world countries, persecution, still sing joyfully, laugh, smile, because they have accepted that life is not about the circumstances that we can't control.
Yep.
And that's the thing, man. So... Gosh, appreciate your thoughts, dude, because that's so true. And hope you guys take this serious, man. You know, we don't know what we're doing. I mean, we know what we're doing, but I kind of like this with real talk. I'm sort of done trying to figure out, you know, what's going to, because the goal is always to reach people for Christ and to get you guys thinking, even those of you that don't really believe, right? We want to encourage you to ask these questions and think, because I told you earlier, if you don't believe in Jesus, to ask yourself, it's even easier. I guarantee you sit at night and go, what the heck am I doing? What is life? Because even when you get what you want, it's never enough.
Yep, the moment passes.
Yeah, because life is not about the things you do, the things you have, the love you get, all those kinds of things, man. It is about your relationship with your Creator and being, you know, walking statues of God's glory in this life. So I don't know what you're going to do with that, but I really hope you guys hear that. I hope you hear our hearts in that we're there with you and understand that God isn't lying to you. You're lying to yourself. There is real joy to be found. I believe it, and I've seen it in my life when I let go of my preconceived expectations that are tied to other people filling the role that only God can fill, or situations, or all this other things. So
that's right.
I guess we can ask this question that kind of goes with that. So we got one question today. It's Remnant Dude Guy. Appreciate you. Or girl. Remnant dudes, how do we train and grow new Christians in the faith?
We got to walk it. Well, first off, you know, kind of going on what we're talking about here, we got to do it ourselves first.
It's good, man.
We got to do it ourselves first. You know, I think we so often jump the gun and thinking, yeah, man, we figured it out. And we go and we try to, you know, disciple people and all this stuff, which is good. I think that's a good heart. But if you're not showing them Jesus, then what are you doing?
Yeah, well, and like, do they want that?
Sure. The example, because clearly, if you're trying to disciple somebody or you're trying to show somebody Jesus, you are all they know. And if you're not behind truly behind what you are trying to convey to them, they're going to know that.
Yeah.
And why would they want to be a part of that?
That's true.
So yes, look at, take a look in the mirror. Are you doing what you're called to do and what you believe in? And if you're not, then don't even start there. But, if you are somebody who can look in the mirror and go, yeah, man, I'm doing this and I'm confident and, and I know that, I am living out what I believe. Patience, patience with this person, because this is it's a life-changing experience to know who Jesus Christ is. And, it's going to hit them in a way that they're not going to understand, and you got to be there for them. And you got to let them know that you can relate. You got to let them know that, what grace is. It's just like the person who may not even be willing, that shouldn't be out there trying to do this. The same thing applies to you. You have to show them what you believe in, because you might be the only example they have.
Yeah. I love everything you said. I think practically, if you're asking, building off of that, because there's no point in repeating what you said, because I think it's true. I think practically we look at the New Testament and we see how people discipled. So they got discipled when, someone new in the faith needs to get plugged into a church.
That's right.
So that they're surrounded by other people and being sharpened and encouraged and all that. And a lot of times we don't do that. We'll have big outreach events where people get saved. I'm a great example of that. I'm so thankful for the church that did that, but I didn't get connected to a church. And that makes a huge difference. So get them connected to a church and invite them and develop a relationship with them. Discipling, it means walking life out. Let them see you, not this fake perfect best, but let them see, the wrestling of faith and what it looks like and how you live it out. And also, we need to make sure we're teaching new believers the importance of the disciplines, prayer and scripture, that it's not optional, but that it is mandatory in the senses that we need it, that God has told us we need those things. So, prayer and worship and, reading scripture and being in community, all those beautiful things. So we have to show them with our lives and study scripture. So what does it look practically? If I were say I'm someone that gets to be a part of someone accepting Christ, it doesn't end there. Discipling means, okay, hey, let's meet every week for coffee and let's talk about this. What's the next step? Get them a Bible. Yes. Goodness gracious. We make believers and we don't give them a Bible. Make believers, we lead people to Christ and then don't give them a Bible. So, that's crazy. That kind of stuff. So that's my other addition to that is the church has got to start doing something. Sometimes we act like the goal is to get the confession of their faith and that's it. All right, we won. Let's put a check box up so now we can tell everyone that this year this church had 5,000 new converts.
Yeah, score one for the church team.
And the truth is a lot of times you're leaving them ill-equipped to continue living out. So you've changed their life but not taught them how to live.
Yep. And that's a lot of confusion.
And they're walking around in the other side of a spiritual warfare now without any understanding of that.
Yep.
So that's what I would do. Pray for them too. That's the other thing.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that helps. That's all I got today, man.
Yeah. I don't think I really have anything else either. Like you said, I think we did a good job.
I hope so. We want to hear your guys' thoughts, man. Yeah. I know this is deep. Some of you don't want to put that out. If you don't want to put it out on our actual video or thread, use the link. But we want to hear your thoughts. This is a conversation. www.theremnant.life/real-talk. You can put your thoughts in about this topic of life, death, and joy and all that. The other thing is let's continue this discussion if you're on social media, whether that's YouTube or Facebook and you're watching our videos. Let's talk. What's the state of your life? Does this make sense to you? Do you have questions? Do you have thoughts? What does it mean to follow Christ? What does it mean to die to self to you? What does that look like practically for you? We appreciate you guys, and we don't take it for granted that we get this opportunity to sit here with you and have you sit with us.
That's right.
And that's all I got.
It's a blessing. Yeah. Love you guys. Like Todd said, hey, if you're out there and you're a believer, Tim Tebow, I heard him say this in a video, and it was really good. He said, live out of your convictions. And that's so good. If this convicts you, don't just pass it off. Don't do it. This is a time. Today is the day to finally go, you know what? I'm going to think about this. I'm not going to pass this on, because there's never going to be a good time to step out of the matrix. You just got to do it. It's never going to happen.
It's good.
Take this, apply it, feel it. Even if it doesn't matter what you feel. You feel angry, you feel sad.
Wrestle that out.
Exactly. Wrestle with it. God is with you. Jesus loves you. We love you. We hope that this Todd always says something at the end of his sermons every single week, and I think people just gloss over it. But he says, "Don't leave the same way you came in, because if you do, you're choosing to. If you hear this and you choose to be the same way, it's because you're choosing to."
Yeah, he's right. Love you guys. You're not alone. If you're watching this video and you're living life when maybe this is the first time you tune in, you feel so alone. You're not alone. We would love to be that person for you, even in the short term. You can contact us anytime. We get this stuff directly, either through, let's say you're on Facebook, you can message our church through the video. You can use the link www.theremnant.life/real-talk. You can go to our website at www.theremnant.life. Guys, you're not alone. I don't want anyone to ever listen to this and think that they're alone or they don't have someone who can pray with them, walk with them, talk with them, whatever. So, hey, we're all in this together. Walking this out until he comes back and fixes it. We hope you have a great day. Truly, we hope you take a chance today. Take some time to have some real talk with someone. And most importantly, guys, just live life. Life is more than the gray. Hope you have a great day, and we mean it. God bless you.